You're back on Global TV Talk Show, and welcome again. And our very special guest today is Maarten de Haan, who's in the Amsterdam area. Maarten is with the Kraft Heinz company, and his new position is, I'm going to read this, Sustainable Procurement Strategic Project Manager for the Kraft Heinz company. So we're going to learn all about ESG and sustainability from a big company perspective. Get ready to take notes. We'll be right back. And I'm Ed, and you're again on Global TV Talk Show. A very special guest today is in the Amsterdam, Netherlands area. So here it's 9:02 a.m. and where Maarten de Haan is just after 6 p.m. in Amsterdam. Welcome, Maarten.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for your time. I understand you're in a new position with the Kraft Heinz company, which is a very large company with a global footprint. So tell us about your job. As I understand it, it has to do with sustainability and ESG, and it proof that a large organizations such as the Kraft Heinz company takes this very seriously. So as I understand it from LinkedIn, your position is Sustainable Procurement Strategic Project Manager. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a mouthful, but in the end, what it boils down to is that organizations and also large corporates have to become more sustainable. And one of the areas where you need to start looking if you want to be more sustainable is basically in procurement, because large organizations buy a lot of ingredients, use a lot of commodities like palm oil or soy or other ingredients. And yeah, the way they buy it can be sustainable or less so. And it's becoming more and more important to do that in a sustainable way.
Well, let me ask you a simple question. This is, a red cup. It's plastic. And I think it's real plastic. It's not made from plants. I wish it would be. So rather than dispose of it after I have this is water at 9 a.m. here. So I'm not going to throw it out. I'm just going to wash it out and reuse it.
Yeah, that's sustainable.
So I'm doing my thing.
Yeah, but of course you can, there's always improvements. So you mentioned you can have an organic cup, or maybe a cup that you can put in the dishwasher. So there are many kind of interpretations. And I think it's also a good illustration that usually it's it's a journey, right? You cannot be sustainable from one day to the next. You have to kind of see what's the low-hanging fruit, what can I do first? And maybe to illustrate is that Kraft Heinz buys from different suppliers. Sometimes it's direct, so basically the farm you're buying it from, and you can track the whole supply chain. But sometimes you buy it from a trader, so then it's less obvious what the source was of the trader who bought it before you bought it from the trader. So and now it's becoming more important that you also that the trader also is transparent in where he bought it from, because even if you don't buy it directly, the new regulations say that you have to be transparent anyway. So that's one of the big challenges now.
Okay, so let's drill down a little bit. So where is your department or your position housed? Is it within, I don't think it's within HR. Is it more public relations, or what is it?
No, it's in procurement.
Procurement. So that makes sense.
Yeah, that's basically where the buying happens, right? So that's where I'm positioned. But I think the question is valid, because what you've seen, and like in the recent past, and still for some companies, is that sustainability is considered a PR. So, and many times you see that the ESG people are in the PR department or in the communication department. So I think that's sometimes it's kind of telling that it's located there, because then if a company considers it is PR or communication, is there really something happening in terms of sustainability, or is it just maybe it's greenwashing, you know?
So I'm in the public relations industry for a lifetime. And so when I was 15, I was doing public relations things. But I believe it's storytelling, but not to mislead, further to inform, and highly ethical when it's done right. And if you will, a sustainable, different word meaning, but long-term value add is a communication device for a company and for employees. It's part of the corporate culture now to have you in such a high profile role. So the net is public relations, but it's the procurement management with the under the umbrella. It's the culture of the organization to be good, to be a good citizen, and to do and to be a leader. And so you're the embodiment of, it's important, it's gravitas, and you're the proof of that happening. So does that mean that you would advise the buyers or review what they're doing to ensure that the ingredients are good?
Yeah. So I'm engaging with the buyers to kind of find out, okay, can please provide me a list of all the suppliers that you work with, and ideally we would encourage those suppliers to have like sustainability certification, because with certification, not any certification, but the ones that are reliable, we can assume that their source is sustainable. So then, because it's of course a huge administrative burden if Kraft Heinz will need to check for every supplier and basically go to the factory and check if at the mill level it's all been sourced sustainably. So luckily there are many good certification organizations that specialize like in palm oil or in soy or in sugarcane. And by kind of engaging them and encouraging suppliers to sign up to those certification methods, that makes our job a lot easier.
So health concerns, if I can jump in for a sec, health concerns of the ingredients, for instance, sugar. I mean, I happen to love sugar, but a lot of sugar or too much sugar is not good. It's not healthy. But the replacement of it, the synthetic, has also, not all of it, but some of it has been found to be real dangerous to people's health if the synthetic sugars are not washed right, or whatever the right words are. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I assume your position will get more involved in just protecting the brand.
Yeah, no, that's a very valid question. So my focus, because sustainability is quite a large topic, but I also have in the same team a colleague working on nutrition, and there indeed the challenge is like, okay, how can we make it more healthy, like reduce sugar or replace sugar by like stevia, which is a natural sweetener, so not artificial. But the same applies for salt, for example, which is also not healthy. So they're constantly in the R&D department experimenting with like Can we reduce it? Can we replace it to make our product healthier?
Isn't that interesting? Well, I applaud you for doing that. I applaud the company for investing in you and the idea. And apparently it's really popular in the boardrooms because of stockholder campaigns or issues about investing in companies that are do-gooders, you know, who are helping people.
Yeah, and it's not only, I think, at the initiative of the company or the shareholder, but you also see that more and more regulators from the government are expecting it. So, for example, I'm currently working on the deforestation, and it's expected that the European Commission will soon come with a new kind of regulation that prohibits the import or export of products which are not deforestation free. So it's not optional anymore or kind of a nice to have. You basically you lose your license to operate, and if they do find that you've not complied, the fines are significant.
So let's talk about recruitment of talent. The war for talent, you know, this phrase we've all heard about now. But actually, Gen Z and other people, not just the youngest of us, but they're really concerned about the footprint the company is leaving in the world. They think they can work anywhere. You know, kids with a lot of skills, they can go anywhere and do anything. And they want to align themselves. They want to go to work for a company that is in that culture, as you say.
No, that's right. And there's even a terminology for that. It's called conscious quitting. So, yeah, people look at the organization and think like, okay, am I contributing to a better planet by working here? And if the answer is no, it's indeed a motivation to look for something else. So in the war for talent, it's more and more, it's becoming a differentiator. And that term was coined by Paul Polman, who's the ex-CEO of Unilever. And Unilever is yes, quite at the front of sustainability. And he really tried to kind of take that to the next step. And now he's doing still work with sustainability. And he does this valuable research like I just mentioned.
So recently you gave a speech in the Amsterdam area at the Forum for Expatriate Management on basically the same kinds of topics. What came out of that event, you doing that event? Were you introduced to other companies that aren't as advanced as the Heinz Kraft company, the Kraft Heinz company?
Well, basically, I was invited to this event, and the audience had to do with kind of professionals working in mobility. So, yeah, the challenges that they had was, of course, that people want mobility at a low cost. And yeah, by adding sustainability, it can increase the cost, but also time. For example, if you say, well, as a company, we say that you need to travel. If you travel to Paris, for example, from Amsterdam, it's now obligatory to take the train. That could have a cost increase and a time increase. So there are definitely sustainability challenges there. Or, for example, your car fleet needs to be electrical. That will also have an impact. I wasn't contacted kind of directly after the speech by the audience, but also because I'm not in the industry. I was kind of taken externally for a keynote speech, and then they went with kind of the more traditional.
Yeah. So, so I thank you very much. I'm very familiar with the FEM organization, and they're doing a great job for a number of years. And so when I saw that on LinkedIn or on your site, I guess is where I saw it, and it queued me up that I thought that was a smart move. And I'm really happy and very honored to have you on our program right here. So let me just take 30 seconds here. Global TV Talk Show was created by me about 3.5 years ago, directly as a result of the pandemic shutting down my 30 years business of live conference production, live meetings, mostly US, but also in Europe and Latin America. But I had never done Zoom or I've learned about it, but I was afraid of the camera actually. and um, and but then I learned that, boy, this is a great tool, and it's very much now in sync with the ESG and sustainability. Uh, I used to travel almost every week somewhere. And then when I think now of not only the expense of getting on the darn plane and the hotels, but all the pollution that comes from that,
Yeah.
that's pretty alarming. So I've been fortunate to be able to produce 600 and something programs since early 2020 up through yesterday. Uh, and our reach, because of the Zoom, has been able to communicate with people in over 100 countries. I would never be able to do that were I to invest all that money and time. And so it's all about using electronics efficiently and smart. That's generated, those programs have generated an audience reach, cumulatively speaking, of over 230,000 audience views on various programs. And the broadening of our reach to include this topic now, I see it as a ticket to ride to broaden our audience, because so many people are not familiar with the depth of knowledge that you have, or about the economic impact of not getting in sync with proper activity, conduct, because they don't know.
Yeah, yeah, it's a relatively new topic, so I don't think you can find anybody who can say that they have like 20 years of sustainability experience, right? Because it's just in the 80s and the 90s, it wasn't kind of considered that important, you know. It was just starting to kind of at the top. People started to realize that the impact we're having on the planet, and I think now you really see kind of the droughts and the storms and what's happening with kind of the temperature rising. So I think now it's sinking in, and very broad, and a lot needs to happen in a short amount of time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm here in Southern California, just at the Mexican border, and you'd think it would be warm, but this year the ocean has been really cold, the Pacific Ocean, and so right along the coast, which is just across the street over there, right there, off San Diego, is it's been cold. However, just in the last week, the researchers at University of California in San Diego have measured a jump in the ocean temperature right off San Diego. And so this has resulted in more humidity, and we can feel it just like that, a change from one week to another.
Yeah.
And so summertime is rapidly approaching us in San Diego, albeit like 25 miles inland from here. It's semi-desert. And so whereas we're struggling to hit in Fahrenheit 70, which is what, about 18 or 20, 20 miles east of here, it's already near 30. If you
Right.
So I can't wait for that to get here. But a lot of people, are worried about getting too hot too fast here and spending more on electricity, air conditioning.
Right, right.
Yeah. So that's how the practical impact of climate change is real. It's not phony, and it's economically significant for sure. Never mind lifestyle impacting. So I
Yeah.
applaud what you guys are doing and what your company is doing. What, without divulging any secrets, I'm not interested in secrets, but what is your plan to do more across your corporation? Because I mean, it's a large company with so many functions and products.
Yeah, there are many sustainability topics, like I mentioned. So the deforestation is one, nutrition, but you also have like agroforestry is another example where you try to kind of promote trees together with crops, which creates a more healthy environment also for the soil. So that's an area to explore.
And clean water, I guess.
Yeah, water is also a very important topic to have clean water, access to water. So it's like crop protection, reducing the amount of crop protection and fertilizer. So I think like we've achieved a lot in agriculture over the last 50 years, where the focus has always been kind of on productivity and on output. And I think now we need to kind of see if we can create a model that's more with nature than against nature.
Yeah.
That's I think we've gone a little bit too far, where we've only looked at the bottom line, and we need to look at more in the kind of in a balance with the planet, and then you can still do a lot, but you cannot kind of run nature as a factory, you know.
So if I may ask you a couple of questions, and then we'll have to bring this to a close. I would love to have you come back and we could do a deeper dive. But first of all, what's your take and what's your view from a sustainability, ESG point of view about desalinization?
Yeah, it can be very interesting, but it requires a lot of energy, and you also produce a lot of excess salt, which of course you take out. So if you throw that back into the water somewhere else, you kind of create a dead zone. So if you manage to resolve those two issues, if you can reduce or the amount of energy that you use. So if you can run it like on solar, for example, which usually is the case because you do it like in warm countries, right, with the lack of water. And if you can do something sustainable with the salt, there's a lot of potential for sure.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Maybe we'll get a salt expert to tell us more about what to do with salt. 100, 200 years ago, salt was a big deal in Europe.
Yeah, to transport goods, they did not have a refrigerator, so they had to put like the
Right,
fish in salt. Otherwise,
right.
it would go to waste.
Yeah, so I would think maybe there's some African or global South countries that does not have refrigeration, and there's a new use. I don't know what I'm talking about. So let me ask you another question, if I may. In Amsterdam, you guys, your heritage there is fabulous in terms of managing the ocean and creating more viable land and produce oriented land that wasn't there before.
Yeah.
So this approach has been, well, sustainability going back a long time now in the new land that has been manufactured to produce produce.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, there's a joke that says that God created the world, but the Dutch created the Netherlands. So.
Amen. Amen. Very nice to meet you and welcome back another time perhaps on Global TV
For sure.
Talk Show. Thank you, Maarten de Haan. It's been really pleasure, and I've learned a lot. And
Yeah.
our audience thanks you. You take care. And this is Ed signing off. And thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.